All right, as I record this, the Cavs and 76ers game is just getting underway. I'm sure by the time this is uploaded, we'll have a little bit more of an idea how that's shaping out. But it is Wednesday, so we're going to be going back over the past week of Cavs action, starting with last Wednesday in Miami against the Heat. They take a win in their first game against the Heat, 104-100. First game for the Cavs against former teammate and beloved Cleveland sports figure Kevin Love. Was definitely strange as a fan seeing him in a Heat uniform and wishing ill on his play. But other than that, it was a bit of a, this is a game where the Heat, they were and still are the current 7 seed, aka where the play-in tournament begins. So this was an important stretch of games to not let them gain too much ground on the Cavs. Jimmy Butler and Tyler Herro were issues for Cleveland all game, but besides that, I felt like the Cavs played a really nice defensive game overall. Jarrett Allen with a double-double, nice to see for him. Darius Garland with a nice shooting game, ending with 25 points. Donovan Mitchell didn't have his best game shooting-wise or even scoring points, but it did end up costing them in the end. So the game was close for the first half. Cavs did build a bit of a lead in the third quarter, but the Miami Heat did come back with a nice comeback effort in the fourth that just fell a little bit short, and the Cavs got a nice win there. Then you have Friday still in Miami against the Heat. They take a loss in this one, 119-115, so they split their 2 games in Miami. No Darius Garland in this one. Karis LeVert coming into the starting lineup and playing on the 2 position. Yeah, I thought he actually played pretty decently for the role that they're thrusting him in. Donovan Mitchell, fantastic in this one. He had another 40-plus point game. 42, I believe, is what the final number was. And Isaac Okoro getting over 15 points. So what gives if there's some good offensive output there? Jimmy Butler was fantastic again for the Miami Heat, scoring 33 points. Herro was a problem as well, and this time Bam Adebayo getting in some nice performances as well. Similar story as far as game structure with the Cavs, the first half being competitive, Cavs building a third quarter lead, but this time the Heat's comeback went a little better than their first attempt, unfortunately for the Cavs, and this is one that they just ended up getting on the wrong end of. This is one you don't want to lose, but again, you are on the road playing the same team twice in a row against a team that's playing for something, competing for seeding positions and playoff spots, and you're missing Darius Garland. Maybe that's one where you just kind of shrug your shoulders and say you can't win them all, but at this point when you are trying to build momentum for a hopeful playoff berth, and I say hopeful, the Cavs are pretty much in it, but I just can't say for sure knowing what, especially last year, what happened to the Cavs last year, but they're going to be in the playoffs. You want to kind of build momentum. Losing games like this doesn't really help you that much, but again, what are you going to do? So that leads us to Sunday's game in Charlotte against the Hornets. They take a win 114-108, definitely a lot closer than you would have liked. Darius Garland was back, but Jarrett Allen would be out of this one with an eye injury. Mobley moves to the 5 in the starting center position, and Isaac Okoro joins the starting lineup as a small forward. The Cavs looking a little bit rough early, missing Jarrett Allen. Allen always kind of throws the Cavs off kilter. They fell behind after the first quarter, and they didn't immediately catch back up either. It did take them pretty much throughout the entire game to finally catch the Hornets eventually. Karis LeVert actually had a pretty decent game off of the bench that I thought. Hopefully he warms up. This is a sign of things to come before the playoffs start. Garland played pretty well in his return, but Donovan Mitchell went 0 for 6 from three-point land, but he did gain his points in other ways. Hornets starters all did well, but I feel like the Cavs bench kind of outdid Charlotte's in this one, which I want to see more of, but I'm going to see it. I'm going to need to see it against more talented teams than Charlotte, obviously. But this is a win that you need over this team. The Hornets are bad, terrible, and if you're the Cavs, you need to get a win over them. By nook or by crook, you have to get that win. So that leads to Tuesday, also against the Hornets. You win 120-104. Definitely more of a statement game that you would expect the Cavs to have. Donovan Mitchell sitting this one out, so Karis LeVert draws back into the starting 5, and he looked good. He's looked pretty decent this past stretch of games. Evan Mobley is really coming into his own. I really haven't emphasized that too much, but Evan Mobley has been a force for the Cavs in the past couple of weeks or so. The Cavs broke out in this game in the second quarter, and the game never really got too antsy after that. It wasn't really much of an issue for the Cavs after a pretty close first quarter when maybe you're adjusting to some of your starters not being in. Cedi Osman having a 24-point performance off the bench was nice. Getting him more consistent minutes is something that I'd kind of like to see before the playoffs start, because I do feel like guys like Karis LeVert and Cedi Osman are going to have to contribute something. They're going to have to be, they're going to have to make some big shots, play big in some big moments in order for the Cavs to really make an actual run in the playoffs in this in the NBA playoffs. So a more expected way to win over the Hornets for this one. Even without some starters, you still shouldn't have that many issues with Charlotte like they maybe did on Sunday. Kelly Oubre Jr. and Terry Rozier played pretty well for Charlotte, but they really weren't getting much scoring support, and the defense was doing pretty well against a Charlotte Hornets squad that's not that great. The bench has been a little worrying, like I've mentioned before. I tried to get to it in my last video, but I just kind of trailed off and kind of forgot a bit about it. But we've seen a lot of stagnant bench performances as of late. Ricky Rubio, he's gotten a couple good games in, but it just hasn't been the same since he's come back from injury. The story itself is inspiring, obviously, because he missed like a whole year of basketball, and he comes back for the Cavs, and he's still playing, and it's not like he's been the worst backup point guard we've ever seen, but there was just like a magic to the offense that he ran last year that hasn't really seemed to pop up very often this year. So as far as the Cavs in the standings, they are 4th in the East, 3 games behind the 76ers, again, pending how that game goes tonight. And they are 3 games ahead of the Knicks, who are in 5th. And they're 6.5 games ahead of the play-in tournament, which is held by the Miami Heat in the 7th seed. So a pretty good week for the Cavs. They go 3-1 against teams that are well below them in the standings, teams that they should, you play 4 games against worse teams. You should probably win at least 3. So they got that there. They have the game against the 76ers tonight, and we'll see if the Cavs can really start to chug along with some momentum as the playoffs begin to start. So thank you all for watching. You made it this far into the video. I'll see you at the next one.